Florida is unaffordable right now, and the cost of living has gone completely insane. Today we're going to do a deep dive into the latest changes and some of the supporting data which shows the unaffordability crisis is skyrocketing. It's the most expensive time to live on planet Earth right now, especially in Florida. The housing market has skyrocketed. There's been a housing market boom, everybody knows it, but in 2023, the median sales price for a single family home in Florida was $410,000, which was up 2% from the $401,990 in 2022. Inventory has increased by 8.6%, but the high prices and rising interest rates continue to impact affordability. Well, whoop-de-freaking-do, because that was then and this is now. Breaking news as of today, Palm Beach County home prices hit record high with average topping $1 million once again. Goes on to say that the sale price on existing single-family homes in Palm Beach County soared to another record high last month despite the economic challenges, including dogged interest rates and steep insurance costs. The average sales price on a single-family home hit $1.17 million in April. Newsflash, we're not in April, we're in May. And actually, we're at the end of May, we're going into June. So those numbers are lagging. And I got bad news for you, those numbers have gone higher. No bueno if you're feeling the chokehold of inflation, if you're feeling the squeeze of being on a limited budget. You're in trouble right now if you can't keep up with this insane rate of inflation. And I get phone calls from people just like you on a regular basis who are feeling that pain. They're reaching out, they're asking for home valuations, they want to know what their home is worth right now because I suspect they see the writing on the wall, and I suspect they're looking to cash in, ring the register on the metric shit ton of equity that they might still have. Please, if you think this might be you, request a home valuation immediately. We'll send it right away. The link is up above and down in the description. We will 1000% send you the best, most accurate, actionable information that we can, and we would be happy to lay eyes on the property and see if it's something we believe we can find the one buyer on planet Earth willing to pay more than anybody else right away. But sales pitch over. You're watching Chris Igoe. If you find value, please give it a thumbs up, share it with a friend, subscribe to the channel, and let's go. Now, let's dig a little bit deeper. I've talked about this in the past, but according to an FAU housing market report released in April, home sales in South Florida, which includes Palm Beach, Broward, and Miami-Dade counties, homes are 34.7% overvalued compared to their long-term pricing trends. The data, which is gathered in late March, was an increase of 0.15 from the previous month. And according to the publisher of the article, or the one who did the study, it bothers him that home prices continue to increase despite slowing rents and rising mortgage rates. While he does not anticipate a major crash, the area could be in for a prolonged period of home price stagnation. But his research showed that Cape Coral, pow, right in the kisser. Northport, pow, right in the kisser. Deltona, pow, right in the kisser. Those markets are starting to show weakness and a developing trend that the market is no bueno for sellers, period. And if you've been watching for a while, you know that I've shared that in order for the real estate market to crash, it doesn't happen instantly. It is usually precipitated by the system breaking. The banking system, the financial system, something inherent in the system breaks. And yes, it is factually true that there are not as many buyers as there once were, but it's also factually true that each year a fresh crop of 30 to 35-year-olds enter the market to buy a home for the first time. So there is always going to be demand. The market will always trade, and yet not everybody can afford to buy a home. Interest rates have skyrocketed. And Wall Street money is moving to South Florida in masses. They continue to drive up prices. But residents, the local folks, the true Floridians, those residents, they want out. And the middle class, which has been completely decimated and destroyed, they're moving out in search of affordability. They want less congestion. They want simplicity in their life. They're moving to southern cities like Greensville and Knoxville, according to some sources. There's just no way for people living here to afford it. The salaries that they have to pay here don't add up to the cost of rent. And the influx of rich newcomers has reshaped Florida. Local residents, from young families to retirees, are moving out to escape the crowds, the ritzy lifestyle, and the rising cost of living. And they're looking at nearby smaller cities in South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, and Tennessee. In fact, I spoke to a nurse here recently who previously sold a home. She's in a rental, and now she wants to buy. And she wants to buy a home similar to what she once had. And when I came to let her know that that same home is about $300,000 more expensive, she almost shit the bed because she had no idea that that simple small home, that starter home, is completely off the table on her current salary. And she's not alone. Teachers, nurses, firefighters, police officers are completely priced out of the market. And yes, there are programs. The Homes for Heroes programs is a great idea if there were any homes that were livable for those folks. But in most instances, they're priced out. And recently I spoke to a client who had moved from Kansas City, Missouri, down to Boca Raton to find their dream home, dream lifestyle, and max out South Florida living to the fullest. And 2 years later, guess where they're moving? Back to Missouri. And they are not alone. There's lots of folks that are moving to Knoxville, Tennessee. The housing costs are more affordable in North Carolina than in Florida. Plus, according to them, they get way more bang for their buck. All the developments in Florida are pushed together like sardines. But if you go up to Greensboro, and even the houses you rent for $2,000 a month have a beautiful backyard. You've got beautiful trees all around your house. You've got lots of space to max out your backyard. And in Florida, with zero lot lines, that's just not necessarily the case, especially at that price point. Let's face it, the high cost of living coupled with the increased weather catastrophes has caused many people to rethink the Sunshine State permanently. And yes, it's factually true that the affluent continue to move to Florida in droves. If you have a CEO income and you own your own business and you're flush with cash, well, then there are many advantages to living in Florida. As an example, billionaire hedge fund CEOs like the Citadel's Ken Griffin paid record-shattering amounts for South Florida homes, added offices, and moved their businesses entirely from New York, Chicago, and Silicon Valley. And so did Jeff Bezos, and so did Larry Ellison, and so did Tom Brady. And if you've got 2 Teslas in your driveway, chances are none of this means anything to you. But the people that are relocating here are not just quote unquote rich people. We're talking about folks that have substantial assets. They own companies and they likely own multiple properties in other states. And while South Florida metros like Miami and Palm Beach and Fort Lauderdale have gotten the most attention from billionaires and Fortune 500 companies over the past 5 years, the influx of billionaires is stretching beyond the state's eastern coast. There is a much broader locational aspect to demand in Florida because these folks want to max out South Florida living and all the advantages that come with it. But if you've got a couple $100 million in the bank, price and cost of living is not an issue. But if you're in a mobile home and your mobile home lot rent skyrocketed, or you have an assessment which has skyrocketed and you're on a fixed income, chances are you're on your way to homelessness. And I just saw some new state legislation which is trying to curb the massive increase in lot rents for mobile homes. So shout out to Sarasota Tim. And I got a funny story to share, which I've never told before, but when I first got into real estate, one of the first listing or seller leads that came in was from somebody who lived in a place called Tidewater Estates. And because I didn't know anything at that point, Tidewater Estates sounded like it was an affluent place to have a listing. I came to learn that it's actually a mobile home park that has some waterfront lots. And at the time, those waterfront lots, and let me be clear, the properties that are located on those lots are actually cars, and that's how they're classified by the DMV. But those properties, at first glance, were trading at somewhere between $200,000 and $300,000 if you had waterfront access. But the property I was being contacted on was not a waterfront lot. It was an interior lot. And when I went to go meet with the potential home seller, I learned they smoked in this thing for about 25 years. And the market value for this home was about $45,000. And yet I rolled up my sleeves and I went to work, despite the fact that when I walked in, I was instantly hit with the most massive allergic reaction that one could have from somebody who's power smoked in their mobile home for the last, 3 decades. And I asked them if they were aware of how badly their property stunk of smoke, and they informed me they never smoke inside the property, only outside. Which taught me a very valuable lesson that people lie. But I did my job and I did it well, and I got the property under contract. And during that process, as I went to set up the closing with the title company, they informed me that there is no title for this property. I needed to go consult with the DMV. That's right, I was so green and so new that I didn't realize that the property that I sold was not in fact a real estate property, it was a car, and I had to go get the registration from the DMV. But I got it closed and I did an amazing job, and I became, for a short period of time, the dominant listing agent in this car community, which would be great if I was looking to sell cars, but that was not what I was looking for. And so very quickly, I stopped doing business that way. And I only share that story because I know right now there are lots of folks that are on fixed income that are in condos they can no longer afford because the assessments have gone through the roof, or their insurance has skyrocketed, or they simply aren't making the same amount of money that they once were. There are a lot of folks that are feeling financial pain due to the fact that the housing market continues to appreciate in most markets. But I just got a phone call from someone just like you who found me on YouTube. They're under contract in a northern Florida market, which frankly, I'm not very familiar with. But they're under contract at list price. The appraisal came in $50,000 less than where they're under contract. And they want to negotiate, which a reasonable person would want to do. And there are no other buyers, there are no other contracts, there is no leverage for the seller, but the seller has opted to do a private appraisal. And just so you know, if you do a private appraisal, you will get that private appraiser to tell you any number that you want your home to be valued at because you're paying for their service. But the bank will not care what their private appraisal is because they're only going to lend at what the market is worth right now. And they're not about to lose money on a deal. They're not about to put themselves at any further risk than the banking system is already in. So they're going to do a very good job of making sure they have an accurate appraisal. So I advised these nice folks, and shout out to Rowan Wilson. I advised her exactly what to do, how to model a conversation for her agent and for the listing agent, exactly what to say in order to get the deal done. And I hope and pray that she gets the deal done. But if that agent is not coachable, if that agent does not know what to say, if the listing agent doesn't know what to do, and if the seller is not going to listen to anybody, well then chances are they're not going to sell their property because they'll be stuck with this appraisal for a period of time. And who knows what the next 6 months will bring, but I can tell you it won't bring a stronger offer. So I have some hope, faith, and confidence that they'll get the deal done. But if you find yourself in a situation where your professional is not handling business the right way, is not advocating and negotiating for you the way you want, is not getting the job done, and you want a second opinion, then please reach out. The link is up above and down below. We are always here to help. But Florida is unaffordable. The housing market boom has helped no one except the rich, who continue to get richer. Property taxes have skyrocketed. In 2023, the average property tax bill from a Florida home was significantly higher compared to the year previously due to increased property valuations. If you want to know what your new taxes will be on the home that you're thinking about buying, I have a pro tip. Go to the county property appraiser site, and there will be a new property tax calculator which will tell you exactly what your new property taxes will be. There should be no surprises, but not everybody knows about it. And if you don't know what your new property taxes are going to be, you are going to be in trouble, period. And property insurance, which I've beat the drum here endlessly for the last 2 years, has skyrocketed. You must get an accurate home insurance quote prior to closing on your home, because if you don't know what your insurance rate is going to be, chances are you're going to be feeling sticker shock and you're going to be budget constrained. And with hurricane season approaching and it's supposedly being one of the worst on record, chances are you're going to need hurricane insurance or property insurance, or you will be in trouble. And don't get me started about inflation. We know how bad it is, despite what they say. But be aware that utility costs have skyrocketed too. Florida residents are facing higher electricity and water bills, period, which is contributing to their overall cost of living pain. As is healthcare, as is transportation, as is income stagnation, because let's face it, despite the rising costs, wages have not kept pace with inflation. And while many people are hoping and praying that the market will crash and that rental prices will come down, we haven't seen anything remotely close to that. There's been the opposite in play: substantial increases in rent prices. The demand for rental properties remains high, with rents raising faster than wages, making it difficult to even rent a house. And I'm certainly not saying this to be Debbie Downer. I'm saying this because I want you to know the truth. I want you to have a realistic appreciation for what the cost of living is if you're thinking about maxing out South Florida living to the fullest. And I want you to get what you want. As a full-time, full-service operator of a high-performance real estate team, we specialize in finding the one buyer on planet Earth willing to pay more than anybody else if you're thinking about selling. So if you want a free home valuation, then please click the link up above or down below. We'll get it to you right away. And if you're shopping for your dream home, dream lifestyle, and the best deal possible, please reach out, because we will roll up our sleeves and go to work for you and ensure ain't nobody overpaying on my watch. And speaking of my watch, I gotta run. Reach out if you need anything. Hit the subscribe button, give it a thumbs up, and I look forward to seeing you on my next video.